So hello and welcome back to my channel. It has been a little bit of a while since I last did a video, and it's something that I've been slipping with for ages now. After my little bad spell through the summer, I've just not really felt up to it, but I've decided that next year I'm going to make a real effort with it, and I would actually like to try and post on YouTube every day, have it more as sort of a video diary type thing rather than just books. But I thought just in the time leading up to New Year, I'll just up my videos a bit and just get back into the swing of it. So I'll stick with the books for the time being. So today I decided I would do a quick review on the latest book I've read, which is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, because I know that this one has been done to death. And there's a lot of really good positive reviews about it. But I didn't actually like it all that much, so I wanted to be a little bit controversial and kind of say my take on it. And I think a lot of my take on it and the reason I didn't like it was because I am a little bit older than the demographic that this is aimed at. It's obviously a YA novel, so the main character's 16. I imagine it's probably YA is aimed at a 12-year-old apparently. I think this is probably a bit old for a 12-year-old. But as a 33-year-old, I think maybe I am a little bit too old for it, and maybe that's why I got a bit annoyed with it in parts. I think some of the ideas in there were a bit black and white, and they didn't kind of look at all the grey areas in between. But the idea of the book is basically that Star is the main character. She is 16 and she goes to high school, I guess, is where I think she's high school anyway, but American school, what you would be at 16. And she, at the beginning of the book, she's at a party and there's some shooting and a bit of a scuffle. So she leaves the party with her friend Khalil, and when they get in a car, drive away, and they get pulled over by a police officer, and the police officer shoots this guy Khalil. And that's the very start of the book, and then it kind of follows what happens afterwards. And it turns out that this girl, she lives in the projects, which is like this real sort of very black, well, it is just an area where just black people live. And she goes to a school where lots of white people go. Her parents have paid money for her to have this private education. So it kind of, I did like this idea that it kind of shows the two worlds merging, and where they meet, and that's where the difficulty is for her, that she's almost found fame and notoriety because she was the witness in this car when this kid was killed. But she's also got this private education where she's in with a lot of white kids at school. Her boyfriend's white. And it's kind of keeping those two worlds separate. So that part of it I did like, and I did find that quite interesting. I just think the reason I didn't like it was because I'm too old. Luckily, I did get some of the references to like a lot of there was like some black rap references that I got just purely because of my age. It was like references to Nelly and some of the 90s angry girl R&B stuff, and I kind of got that because I remember listening to all that when I was a teenager. So So that was quite fun to read. But I did find it just a bit black and white, and I found some of their language was a bit too ghetto and too, I just sound like real, I don't know what I sound like saying that kind of stuff, but it was just a bit too much for me. But it did pull itself together at the end. And I think another thing that I didn't like about it was that towards the end they have a riot in the projects and they start burning down things and looting. And although Star doesn't agree with it, it reminded me of, I think it was in 2011, obviously I'm in the UK, we had riots in London when somebody was shot, and the riots went crazy. They were just, it felt like the whole of London was burning down. It was absolutely crazy. And so many people just did not agree with it. And then I read books like this and everyone's like, oh, it's so great, it's so, and although Star didn't actually agree with what was happening, I felt in a way it almost glorified it a little bit. And after remembering what happened in London sort of 6 or 7 years ago, it just felt really wrong to read the book and like that behaviour. I don't know whether I was reading it wrong or whether it wasn't meant to be read that way. And it would be interesting to see other people's take on that and see if I just read it wrong. But it just made me quite angry. It made me sympathise less with the people that I was supposed to sympathise with, and it made me angry at them. And I don't think that was what was supposed to happen in the book. So yeah, I think I'm rambling a bit, but my thought is, although it was a good book, and I did like the way it was written, in that it was written very colloquially, and it was quite an interesting way, because I like what's his name? Gosh, I can't think of his name. But the guy who writes everything Scottish, Irvine Welsh, that's it. He writes all his text in a kind of Scottish accent, and it was like this, but with like African American speak. And I thought that was quite an interesting way of writing it. It annoyed me a little bit towards the end, but it was an interesting way of writing it. And it did really immerse you in that world by doing it that way. So that was quite good. But yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this now, so I'll probably just stop talking. But I think if you were younger, I'd highly recommend this book. Now that I'm getting towards my mid-30s, I probably wouldn't recommend it to friends, and I don't really get what all the hype is about it. I don't know why people have grabbed onto this book out of so many that have been released this year. So I would give it, I'd give it a good recommendation. I would say give it a try, but I don't think that the hype is, I just don't think it's worth all the hype. But good book, and hopefully this will be the start of me actually getting my butt into gear and starting to film. As I say, in the new year, I hope that I will start to film every day. I very much doubt that's going to happen. It'll probably peter out by about the 3rd of January, but I can give it a go. And now that I'm saying it on camera, it makes it far more likely that I'll do it, because I'm committing, even though only about 6 people watch this. But hey ho, thanks, bye.